So, hello and welcome back to another video, everybody. Oh, I've been late to the party with this one because I was waiting for more information to come out, but there is still not too much to go off, so let's just get into this here. I was watching a couple of videos, including stuff from Tokyo Source recently, and they're on about IBO continuing. For those who don't know, IBO stands for Iron-Blooded Orphans. It was one of the last Gundam series to be released or aired. And it was pretty good. I enjoyed IBO loads. I think the best parts about it were just how brutal some of the fights could get and how interesting it was using melee weapons for the majority of it. Anyway, the way that IBO ended, I wasn't too keen on. And now apparently we're getting a movie or some kind of prequel or whatever. I honestly think that they should do a prequel. Let's get this conversation going here. So, we'll start with how IBO played out in the second season, how it ended, and then we'll roll it back and basically talk about the potential for things that they could do with a prequel. So, for IBO, the first season played out pretty well. It was all about politics. As usual with Gundam, it was all about getting one of the main characters to a certain portion in the story so that they can have this political talk about what's going on in the universe. That was the main focus, and in between you had a load of battles and preparations for battles. It always felt like it was moving in one direction, going from A to B in a straight line and just destroying anything in its path, and that was really cool. And then the second season, you had a bit more of the storyline unveiled to us, where we find out that mobile suits in this universe are deliberately made to combat mobile armors or AIs, which almost wiped out humanity in the past. It's a really cool concept when you hear it, and this gets shown to you when I think it's the Hashimal, I can't remember the name of it properly. But basically, this giant bird-like mobile armor appears next to Tekadan's base and wrecks everything until the main suit, Barbatus, stops it. And that kind of showed you the potential of what they could do with it. And then what ended up happening was, towards the end of the second season, they completely killed off most of the main cast. The idea was that because the mercenaries, they can't have a happy ending. And the one thing that I did not like about it was that you had a weapon introduced called the Nine Slave, which was basically this giant medieval style railgun, or at least it was medieval style looking. It was themed with the rest of it, which was sort of very ancient style looking Gundams. I think the correct term somebody used was knights and things. That was the theme they were going for. So you've got this almost siege weapon railgun thing, and it's they heavily used it in the second season. Whereas the first one, you kind of built up everything to the point where there was this really satisfying end fight. In the second season, I felt like they really overdid the Nine Slave scenes where it almost became a joke. I remember telling one of my friends where you'd be watching a episode and then all of a sudden Nine Slaves out of nowhere, and they just did not stop. They used them about 4 or 5 episodes into this thing, and they just kept going with it. And it was annoying for me because I thought the fight scenes were going to be resolved in a classic manner. I suppose that subverted my expectations for it, and that was kind of fun, but I just didn't like seeing most of these battles solved with almost like a super weapon over and over and over again. It just kind of got boring for me. And then of course you have the ending as well, is solved via Nine Slave, where basically the people who you think are the bad guy faction in this, Galahorn, used Nine Slaves to take out Mika and Akihiro at the very end, which was really upsetting because I really enjoyed both of them. I didn't really like the edginess that they showed in Mika at the end. I know he's supposed to be a child mercenary, but they really went overboard with the edgy stuff there. They could have had him doing a little bit less kind of stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm going to probably get called out for that. The licking the blood thing with the fang-style teeth was just a bit too much for me. I know some people drew the line as well at the Barbatus Lupus Rex howling. That was kind of weird. But whatever, it was design choices at the time. It's still really fun to watch, especially for me. I really enjoyed IBO, and this gets into the prequel area now, where we've got talks and like a little bit of promotional material already going on, where people are saying, you know what, we could have a prequel set in the Calamity War. And the Calamity War, for people who don't know, is this giant battle between these AIs that were previously mentioned and humans that are building mobile suits at the same time to fight them. And there is so much potential that it just sounds like a really kind of end of the world scenario, because it is. And having mobile suits in this brutal battle against AI sounds really fun to me. I think they could really take this in a unique direction, especially considering the amount of lore and stuff that they haven't tapped into with IBO. Like, for instance, all the other Gundam frames that they have. They have, 72 Gundam frames that they built during the Calamity War, and I think Tokyo Source said we have like 20 or something remaining at the end of IBO. So that's a lot of suits that they haven't shown off that they could easily make into Gunpla. So we've got a choice of, is it going to be a film, or is it going to be a series? Honestly, I'd hope for it to be a series so we can expand that story a bit more, but it's looking more like, and I just have this feeling, that it's going to be very similar to the Double O movie, which was Trailblazer, I think, where we have this really long narrative stretched out into, well, not exactly stretched out, packed into a movie, and then shown off to everybody. I mean, it's probably still going to be good either way, especially if they do Calamity War stuff, because I'm just so hyped for this now, just because of the potential of it. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it could go wrong if they don't do it right, if they don't write it in a certain way. Like, for instance, you need to bring on that past history of everything and fleshed out really well. Now, I know some films can do that very quickly, and it all depends on how it's wrote and the pacing. Like, for instance, some films establish their antagonist, the world, and basically what's going on within 15 minutes, and that's really crazy. I'm expecting something that's more expanded out a little bit and is unveiled over time, so you've got a little bit more of a mystery involved with it. It's not that I'm like a J.J. Abrams loving guy that wants sort of this puzzle or mystery box that's consistently teased and then opened, but I'd just like something that was a little bit more in-depth. I think I'm getting to that point in my life where I'm accepting a little bit more of things that aren't just hand-fed to me, and I'm a little bit more invested because you're constantly trying to guess and get involved with this thing with other people as well. Like, if we were given it a little bit slowly, then you could at least turn around and be like, oh yeah, this is fantastic, and start speculating with friends. I think that is really fun, as long as it's not overdone. But at the same time, there are certain things that I don't mind just being hand-fed to me. It's very... I think it's partially perspective-based, but you got to be kind of picky on how you do that as well. Anyway, what do you guys think? I'm really hyped for anything that's IBO at the moment, because I just want to see where this goes. The potential in it is... I just can't wait. I'm hyped. As you can tell, I'm really hyped. The potential there is fantastic. I want to see what they do with it. Whatever comes out of it, I hope it's enjoyable. I'll see it. So anyway, I'll leave this with you guys. See what you think. Leave your comments down below whether you liked IBO or hated it, and the reasons why, and what you think this project's going to be, the potential that it could have, whether you're excited about it or not, and what your favorite mobile suit from the series was. I'm going with Gusion Rebake Full City for this one. Anyway, I'll see you guys next video. Laters.